turn that on. Then you can hear me as well as see me. What a blessing that will be. All right, so I am going to start with a little bit of a short presentation. I really kind of want to get you thinking about this from this is what a business needs point of view. So, a bit of background. About 9 weeks, maybe 10 weeks ago now, I made a decision that I needed to be able to generate a consistent number of leads in a predictable way, in a way that I could scale should I choose to, and in a way that didn't rely on me necessarily going out and talking to people one-on-one, because obviously there's a limit to how many people I can talk to on a daily basis. And if you follow the model most people follow, which is this idea of, go networking, talk to people, booking an appointment, sit down, maybe hopefully close them, turn them into a client from the conversation. Nothing wrong with that. If you're in something which has a high-end ticket value, then you may not need many people in order to obviously make that work for your business. What I wanted, though, was something more predictable than that. So this idea that obviously gets reinforced with me every time I speak to my mentor, Errol, and I think it's probably been said many times by many people, which is this idea that nothing begins until something is sold. So until a prospect becomes a client, then of course you don't have a business. So unless you can consistently convert cold leads into warm leads, prospects into clients, you don't have a business. So that then begs the question, if nothing happens until something is sold, that really begs the question, how many times a day or how often are you pitching your services to a qualified prospect? Now, when I've did a quick survey this week, literally, because most of my focus is coaches and consultants. So I did a quick survey this week, went and asked a few people at the various meetings that I've been to, the various events I've been to. And when I've asked, most of them cannot remember the last time they actually spoke to a prospect with the focus, the objective, the goal being, I want this person to become a client. If they did, it was maybe like 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. And if that is their ratio, that they're only talking to somebody and only pitching once every 2 weeks, then how many clients can they get in a month? Maximum 2. That's not good. So would it make sense then that the more you pitch, the more money you're going to make? Of course it would. You need to pitch more regularly. The challenge with it, and this is a challenge with anything that requires manual labor, is that it doesn't get done. So in the same way that, for example, you've heard the fortunes in the follow-up, but how many people actually do any follow-up? Very few. Why? Because you've got to remember to do it. You've got to schedule it in. You've got to actually physically do it, whether that means getting on the phone. If you're calling people, are they there when you call? If they're not there, what do you do? Leave a message. There's got to be a consistent way to follow up. Maybe we'll talk about that in a future session, because, using email, using Facebook Messenger, all of these kind of tools that are available, the bots that are available, there's a lot you can do with follow-up. Even Facebook itself with its retargeting options is another way of following up and combining retargeting with email. Very powerful. So that's another thing to think about. But this whole idea, like pitch, you've got to pitch more often. If you're not pitching, then you can't possibly, if you're not putting your offer in front of somebody and saying, here's what it does, here's what it is, here's how it benefits you, here's how you get it, and so on, then obviously, the business isn't there. It's just not consistent. You're not going to grow your business. You're not going to generate enough income. You're not going to get beyond the starting line. So let's find a way then to pitch more regularly. And my belief on this, and again, this is my opinion, but it makes a lot of sense and it's working for me, is that turning paid advertising into profit is the way to go. If it is paid advertising, there will always, as long as we have a capitalist society, there will always be somewhere you can advertise. So whether that's on Facebook, which is very popular at the moment, whether that's on YouTube, and I've used both Facebook and YouTube, both very powerful, whether that is across the whole of the Google network, which is, God knows how many times bigger than Facebook, if you take the whole network into account, any of those things, the principles for advertising don't change, they remain the same, but it's that ability to have your advert running, even when you're not there, even when you're having your dinner, even when you're having your breakfast, even when you're asleep, your advert can be running and it can be bringing people in. Now, interestingly enough, when I decided that I wanted to do sort of a more of a consultancy role to begin with, and I started talking initially to financial advisors, and they were keen on obviously bringing in more clients. They were keen on my message, which was about helping them get high value clients, because of course there's more revenue for them in that. What they weren't keen on was advertising, which I found strange. It's like, well, how are you going to bring these people in? because it's not something they normally do. What they're used to in their industry, so therefore what they've grown up with, is getting on the phone and making cold calls, accepting the fact that they need to make X number of phone calls a day, that X number of those, 80% of those are never even going to answer, that the 20% that do answer, maybe 20% of them actually book an appointment, and out of those 20%, maybe they get a client. So they're back to maybe booking in one person every couple of weeks. Because I've never met a single financial advisor who works for themselves who consistently makes cold calls every single day. They don't do it. They just don't get around to it. So and obviously, cold calling, who likes it anyway? Nobody likes it. So it's not the best approach. But again, because it relies on them being disciplined about it, they rarely do it. The ones that do make it work are the ones that typically work for someone else. So they're not independent in that sense. They are part of a larger company where their role is just to get on the phone and make calls. So that's all they do, because that's their job. And if they didn't do it, they get fired. But again, it's not great. So paid advertising. So the fear is, if I throw money at it, I'm going to lose it. It's all going to disappear. It's going to go away. It's just be like this big hole in the ground, and I'm just feeding it with money, and I don't see a return on it. So 9 weeks ago, I made the decision, I need to master this. I need to get my head around this. I need to understand how to generate and switch on clients at will. And that's what I've been doing since. Now, it's a continuing journey. But what I have noticed is it's not just about what I pay on the advert. Because in the beginning, I can get a lead. And I could get a lead, and I think the first week I was advertising, it was costing me about $70. And I run my Facebook campaigns in dollars, US. So it's costing me $70. Now that's down to $21. And actually, it's actually now free. And I'm going to show you how that works. So it's not just about the ad. So I've got a few slides to walk you through, because I think this will be useful. And it'll certainly keep me on track and stop me waffling. Let me find a window. Yeah, there we go. Let me show you this. that's all of that aspect of it. That's kind of a short little intro. So let me stop sharing my screen. Turn that off. No, not end the event. I don't want to do that. Okay, and that is basically that. So at this point, I'm going to pause this. All right, so we're having some technical issues. All right, so I'm going to pause this. I'll edit this as a video. Let me stop.